Hi, I'm Kendall with Kendall's Greenhouse. I'm sitting in my studio today because I just want to talk to you today. Actually, tonight. It's too dark to garden anyway, although I could show you the seeds that I'm starting if you want to see them. It's the end of October. It's getting chilly. I haven't been very motivated to go outside and garden. Maybe when my bulb order gets here, I'll be more motivated. But I figure I might as well start talking to you more about just gardening thoughts that I have, and my approach to gardening, why I garden, maybe some book reviews, those sorts of things on this channel because I was telling a new friend about my YouTube channel today and she got excited about the name Kendall's Greenhouse. To her, that meant that was me in a greenhouse growing, and that I could talk about my journey growing as a person, as a gardener, as just who I am, right? My identity, and I could talk about gardening. So I love that perspective, and I want to try to do a little bit more of that on this channel. It is not easy for me. I am not used to this sort of situation, me sitting here talking to a camera, but I'm going to practice and get better at it. So what I'd like to talk about tonight, can you tell it's night? Can you see my greenhouse out the window? I think it's too dark. I'll have to record in this spot in the daytime so you can see the greenhouse. I am in my studio in the basement of my house, and I have some grow lights right over there with some seeds I'm growing. Maybe I'll get a little bit of video so I can show them to you. And I'm not spending much time in the greenhouse right now, so we should just talk about stuff while I'm still figuring out how to use my greenhouse. I wanted to come on and talk to you today about why I garden. There are a lot of reasons why I garden. This is probably not all of them. This is just a few things I wrote down. Number one, I think I've mentioned this before, is mental health. When I think about a lot of the other gardening YouTube channels, they are gardening every day. They're outside, they're digging stuff up, they're weeding, they're doing all this stuff. And I find myself actually blocked a lot from gardening. Or maybe I'm just not even noticing how much gardening I'm doing. I'm not really sure what's going on. But I'm definitely not outside gardening every day. I do think about it every day. And there are a lot of reasons why I garden, and probably a lot of reasons why I don't on any day. And a lot of those have to do with mental health. So I started gardening during COVID. Maybe you did too. It just happened to coincide with our beach house getting finished. We had new fresh landscaping in the front, and the landscapers put some plants in some really weird places. I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to go buy just some fun pots and some fun plants, and I'm not going to do a lot of hard work and digging. Well, that didn't happen. So I tried to just put my pots together, and then I was like, wait a second. The landscapers put these hostas in my front yard where it's super sunny and they're just dying. So then I started to dig stuff up and move it around, and I got sucked in. And then I was doing research about what plants should go where, and I like researching. So I got sucked into gardening, and it was great. My neighbors liked it. People would come by and say what a good job I was doing, even though I look back at pictures and it was that empathetic. People are nice. And other gardeners want to talk about gardening, even though I didn't really feel like a gardener yet. Sometimes I don't even feel like I'm a gardener right now. Do you have a hard time saying you're a gardener? It's sort of like an identity claim, right? Like, how much gardening do you have to do to be a gardener? How much do you have to know? How long would you have had to be a gardener to be considered a gardener? I don't know. I think that's one reason I signed up for the Master Gardener program. I thought, well, if I can get approved as a Master Gardener, that means I'm really a gardener, right? Just like an identity thing. Maybe. We'll see. I'm almost done with that program. We'll see if I finish it. But anyways, mental health, too many thoughts at the same time. I have a lot of different ways I could talk about mental health, but one way that gardening really helps me is my struggle with perfectionism. And you'll see that crop up on my channel if you haven't already, where I have a hard time doing things unless I feel like they're completely done, completely thought out, ready to go, and then I want to put it out into the world, right? Oh, even then, I don't know. Is there ever a point I really want to put it out in the world? I'm not sure. But definitely struggle with perfectionism. So gardening is messy. It's dirty. Like, what even is perfect? I think about English gardens and how they sort of embody this wanting to control nature vibe, right? You would have these big estates in the countryside, and they have these big, like, wild yards, and so they'd hire people to come in and trim hedges and lawns and make things orderly and symmetrical. And it was sort of this like man versus nature fight. Like, I can control you. It's not like that for me. For me, it's every time I try to control it, like, I can affect it, right? I can put plants out there, but there is no controlling it. There's a lot of letting go that you do when you're a gardener. You kind of like put the plant there and see if it lives. You can do a lot of research, but at the end of the day, this is a very unique spot for this unique plant. No one else has ever planted that plant there. We have no idea if that's going to survive or not until you just put it there and try it, right? And so I have to let go a lot of those perfectionist expectations where something's going to look a particular way, or that I can control it, right? So gardening helps me embrace the flawed nature of life, right? And that's a reflection of myself and things I need to work on, and gardening helps me to do that. Another thing it helps me with is sort of an outlet for my love of learning and my curiosity. So you may have experienced this too, where there is always something to learn about gardening. You will never know everything there is to know about gardening. So there's so many books, you'll never be able to read all the books. There's so many websites, there's so many videos, and the reality is that each person who has been a gardener across their lifetime has this whole, encyclopedic body of knowledge about gardening that they've acquired slowly across time and across the years. And if each individual has that and they have their own individual experiences of what gardening is and how to garden, there is no way that you can have all of that information and knowledge in your mind. And there is always another hyperfixation. You can go learn about cacti if you want, or propagation, or all sorts of little rabbit holes you can go down if they tickle your fancy. So that's one way that gardening affects your dopamine, is that you find something that's interesting and rewarding to learn about, and you can go learn about it, and it's really satisfying. So gardening is a great source for that for me, where I can learn about seed starting and propagating. I love those things. And I can learn about native plants and greenhouse gardening, right? There's all these little aspects of gardening that each individual gardener sort of likes and doesn't like, and they sort of build a repertoire of who they are as a gardener and what sort of niches within gardening they're interested in, right? And so, that's another reason I'm a gardener, right? There's all this stuff that is naturally curious to me that I get to dig into and learn about. Another aspect of why I garden is that it is a reminder of the fact that it is not all about me. The world is not all about me. The garden is not all about me. Nature the universe is not all about me, right? Gardening takes me out of myself. It takes me out of my head, and it connects me with the earth. And this may sound weird, but I want to say like time scales that are beyond me, right? So I have this period of time that I'm going to be on this earth doing things, and there are things that came before me, and there are things that will remain after me. And there's something about connecting with things that are alive outside in the earth, plants, trees, nature, that helps me connect with these time scales that are outside of myself. And that is meaningful to me. I'm guessing a lot of humans find that meaningful to them too. But, I guess that connects back to mental health too. Finding something outside myself that is meaningful and has systems of meaning outside of maybe those that I even am participating in right now or understand. It gives me hope. It gives me hope that there's things I have left to learn. It gives me hope that there's things that will stick around, things I've participated in, had some ability to touch or influence in some way that will remain beyond my own time scale, right? So that got very serious very fast. So if you can't tell, there's not a lot about gardening that I do that's just about like food, I think, or like sustenance in the like physical sense. So my ancestors were gardeners. I think probably all of our ancestors were farmers, right? My grandfather loved to garden, and he came from a farming background. I think his family raised pigs in Illinois. I am incredibly blessed to be able to garden just for gardening's sake. I just want to do it because I want to do it, right? It's interesting to me. It's like continually fascinating. New things come up that I'm interested in, or just like every time I see a seed sprout or a bulb grow, it's just magic, right? And so I think that's sort of a natural way to experience gardening. There's a lot of YouTube content out there about homesteading and sustenance farming and those sorts of things, and even like flower farming, right? Making money gardening and farming, and that's not what I'm doing. I am purely doing gardening for myself, to find beauty and joy in the world. Honestly, I think that's one of the reasons I want to share my gardening experience on YouTube, is that it's not for making money. It's really for health, right? For happiness, for finding myself. It is a metaphor for my own life. So I am not just learning about gardening, I'm learning about who I am. My garden is a reflection of me, my decisions that I make, my decisions I don't make. The successes and failures are a reflection of me and my challenges, and it gives me an opportunity to reflect on myself, to make improvements, or to just accept things, learn to accept things about myself that I haven't historically. So that's part of my journey. I want to try to do a better job sharing that with you as I share gardening content on this channel. I would love to hear in the comments why you garden. The answer might be for vegetables. right? Honestly, that was me when, like, 8 or 9 years ago when my son was little, we tried to make a vegetable farm in our backyard, right? We plowed the earth, we researched all the fertilizer, we planted lots of squash and beans and strawberries, and it was fine. We did it for a year or two, but gardening for vegetables wasn't enough for me. It might be enough for you. Maybe having those fresh fruits and vegetables is super motivating and exciting for you, and that gets you in your garden. So tell me if that's what gets you excited about gardening. I do get a little excited about herbs. That's just more manageable to me than like fruits and vegetables. But yeah, for me, it's a lot about getting out there and doing something in the world, right? Even if that world is just outside my door, it's about getting my body moving, making some decisions when I feel stuck and I feel like I can't do anything or make any difference. I don't know. It's just getting going, getting some momentum, doing some things. So yeah, let me know why you garden. To summarize, I think I talked about love of learning and curiosity. I talked about mental health, learning more about myself. And I talked about getting outside of myself, that the garden and the earth is not about me. And it helps me get out of my own head, get out of my own way, and go and just experience the loveliness of the world, right? That's not easy for me to do. It's really easy for me to criticize and to be negative and to want everything to be perfect and to be frustrated about how nothing is ever right. And I'm going to practice, I need to practice being more vulnerable and admitting how flawed things really are, because I want to learn to live joyfully despite my flaws. Let me know if there's something you want to hear me talk more about. Maybe you've watched some of my other videos and you have questions about why I made certain decisions that I made. And I'm going to do some more work thinking about what I want to share with you on this channel. I do want to talk about gardening with ADHD. I have lots of ideas about that. So let's plan on talking about that soon. Thanks for joining me.